Now, next we have a face that many of you may be familiar with from a documentary released in 2019 called Ugly Me, My Life with Body Dysmorphic Disorder. So we're really, really pleased to have Leanne come and give us an update on her journey of recovery since doing the programme. Thanks very much, Leanne. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Firstly, I just want to let you know I'm a little bit nervous, so apologies in advance. My first reaction when Kitty asked me if I would do a talk about my experience was, as it usually always is in the first instance, that no one will be interested in what I have to say, and I have nothing of value or benefit to bring to the table. This negative internal monologue is not unusual for me, and the old me would have said, no, absolutely not. The new me takes a step back and understands that BDD is an illness that thrives in silence, so I won't let BDD be the judge anymore of whether I have something valuable to say, and I won't give BDD the choice to tell me what other people are thinking. BDD doesn't have the right to do this. So this is my story, and I hope it can resonate with some of you and see that there is hope for recovery. Firstly, I wanted to talk about a little bit about my experience with BDD. I pinpoint my earliest recollection of my awareness with my own image at a young age. I remember vividly sitting in my parents' bedroom and looking into their mirror, which was a desktop mirror with 3 sections. It allowed you to see yourself from all profiles, ones I don't recall seeing before. I remember seeing myself for the first time from the side profile and from around a mid-side profile. I remember noticing how unsymmetrical my face was, the bump in my nose, and the profile of my hair, of how I didn't really recognise myself for what I was seeing. When I was around 14 years old, I discovered makeup. This would be when the first external signs became apparent to those around me that something wasn't quite right. My parents will tell you I pretty much changed overnight. I believed I had found something that was able to camouflage externally how I felt internally. Although rather than camouflaging it, it was causing me to fixate further and further into my flaws, and the obsession had begun. My fixation centred primarily around my hair, having a symmetrical face, and the hook in my nose. I would undertake certain rituals around ensuring that I was minimising these flaws so that no one would notice how ugly I am. I would have to announce my unattractiveness to everyone and anyone. I had to vocalise it to ensure that no one would think I was unaware of my appearance. It became my way of shielding myself from potential judgment or ridicule. It was a defence mechanism born out of a constant anxiety and self-doubt. I couldn't stand the thought that people would think I didn't already know how I looked. To everyone else, though, it was just what Leanne says. My friends would always say that my catchphrase was, I look rough. So I would say it to everybody constantly. I was constantly seeking reassurance from everyone to have a moment of respite from the persistent voice in my head. Yet I would never take a compliment. It would make me very frustrated if somebody tried to offer me one. I started self-harming. I went to the doctors and I was told I was depressed and put on antidepressants. I've also been told that it's social anxiety. Through my late teens and 20s, where social media was a lot more present, I would spend ages comparing myself to others. I would hate people taking pictures of me for the fear they would be put onto Facebook and people would see how ugly I was. I remember having a blazing row with my mum once because someone had put a picture up of me and I was so desperate for her to tell me it was a bad picture, but she insisted it wasn't. And I couldn't take this and I flew into such a rage. It was complete frustration and anger that somebody wouldn't just tell me it was a bad picture and then I could relax. I felt like no one was understanding what I was trying to say. Just tell me it's a bad picture, just tell me I'm unphotogenic, just tell me I don't really look like this. I actually made a decision to have cosmetic surgery to fix one of my flaws. I had a nose job at around about 21, 22 years old. I thought this would help, and for a while it did, until I started noticing that it hadn't been done properly. My friend had actually seen the same plastic surgeon, and hers was better than mine. Mine was done wrong, and I believe my nose had begun to droop. The impact BDD had on my daily life was profound. I could only use certain shampoos and conditioners. I could only dry my hair a certain way. I'd have to be wearing fake tan. My makeup had to be the same, and if one of these things didn't go right, I wouldn't go out. Everything would be ruined. Hours would be spent in front of the mirror or walking between mirrors so that I could find one that would be different and it would tell me a different story. Even in the rare occasions where everything was going well and I would be happy with my image, I would still walk between mirrors, meticulously adjusting my appearance until I wasn't happy anymore. My partner at the time had learned about body image disorders as part of his personal training course very early in our relationship. He said he thought I had BDD. I did some research and everything resonated with me so much, and I made the choice to go back to the doctors. People often delay seeking treatment for BDD due to feelings of shame and stigma, and I was so scared to go into the doctors and say I thought I had it because I couldn't stand the thought of someone just looking at me and thinking I was just ugly and there was nothing wrong with me. That's just the way it was. Both GPs that I went to throughout the course of when I tried to get help, they didn't actually know what BDD was. I have been told the following from some previous CBT and therapy sessions. Someone said to me, well, I can't change your face, so what outcome would you like? Which had just confirmed to me that the problem was my face. And I was told that my problem was more disordered eating than BDD, so that I should be treated for this first. On one occasion during my CBT sessions through a local mental health service, I was made to have a photo taken of myself, which I was fully unprepared for at the time, and write questions that I wanted people to answer on my appearance, and it would be passed around the office and they would give me feedback. And I remember saying to them, so you're going to ask your colleagues questions on my appearance, and they know what I'm here for. They're obviously not going to tell me the truth. I saw an ad on a BDD Facebook group I was a member of looking to invite people to get in contact regarding a documentary, so I sent them a message. And then I made the decision to participate in the documentary for the BBC called Ugly Me. I allowed the cameras to film my daily routines. I wanted to expose the reality of living with BDD. It was very difficult, it was very challenging, but it was necessary for me in my recovery as the process helped me to understand I was able to opt for elective treatment, and I requested that I was referred for specialist CBT with Professor Veal at the Maudsley. When I first came to see Professor Veal, a large part of me was sure, actually all of me was sure, that he would tell me that I was making it up, that I didn't have BDD or anything wrong with me, I was just ugly. He was the expert and he would finally tell me what I knew all along.
So, the purpose of today is an assessment to help me understand what the problem is exactly and see whether in fact we can help you.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the nature of the problem you want to try and solve?
I just find it really difficult to cope with the way that I look. Every time I'm out in public, that's when I'm really thinking about it, because I feel like people are staring at me and talking about me. I just feel like I'm ugly and I just can't deal with it. And I just want to be able to just cope with it.
And how long's that been going on for?
It's from around the age of about 14, 15.
So it's been going on for 14 years?
Yeah.
What was happening in your life then?
The first memory I have is my parents had this mirror and it had like the front bit and then two side bits. And I remember looking at it and thinking, oh my God, my face is disgusting.
And in fact, you very kindly did a drawing for me as to how you feel you look, didn't you?
Yeah.
See, I can't actually recognise you from that.
The hairline's the same, and then I've got massive bags under my eyes, and as you can see, like, one side of my face is not symmetrical to the other.
This is your felt impression as to how you feel you look in your mind's eye. I don't see the picture in your mind that you have.
Okay.
So the main problem we're saying is one of body dysmorphic disorder.
This is where I struggle, because I have been talking to people who have, and
Yep.
they're generally not ugly, like at all.
No, nobody with BDD is ugly.
No. So, by that, I don't think I have. I think I just can't deal with it.
And would it surprise you to hear that actually that's what most people with BDD say? So I understand what you're saying. This is a very common experience in people with BDD. But you see, the definition of body dysmorphic disorder, it's a preoccupation with perceived defects. I do believe it's treatable, and that's going to involve doing things which are uncomfortable. With successful treatment, the body image, the self-portrait actually changes.
I'd love that to happen.
There's absolutely no doubt that Leanne has body dysmorphic disorder. It's clearly very distressing for her, clearly interfering in her life in various ways. She is functioning, managing to hold down a job, but I think she's struggling a bit clearly in relationships. I am going to recommend therapy because I think she's definitely treatable. I want her to be able to treat this as a body image problem rather than an appearance problem. And that does require a leap of faith. And to act as if it is, even if you don't yet believe it.
It's hard when you see something to think that other people don't see that. It's either I'm seeing things that everybody else is seeing and everybody's lying, or there's a psychological problem and I'm focusing on different things than what everyone else is focusing on. What if they teach me all this? I understand all the thought processes, but what if I can't get past that negative image? What do I do?
One of the really difficult things about body dysmorphia, and particularly about the diagnosis of body dysmorphia, is that it's a bit of a paradox. Essentially, the definition of body dysmorphia is, you have this obsession with an imagined or exaggerated flaw. You feel it in your gut, you believe that you look this way, and yet to actually accept that you have BDD, you have to believe that it's a figment of your imagination. And it's just so hard to have those two things in your head at the same time. I've made it up, it's real. I have to believe that it's real in order to have the diagnosis. And yet, to have the diagnosis, I have to accept that it's not real. How do you do that?
As Amari pointed out in the documentary, BDD is a paradox. I had a diagnosis that I had BDD. There was a reason for how I had been feeling and acting pretty much the majority of my life. And although I understood this, I still found it difficult to accept that I had BDD, because I knew, or I felt I knew what I saw when I looked in the mirror or when I looked at a picture of myself. But BDD is such a complex mental health condition and it doesn't follow conventional reasoning. The CBT that I was given at the Maudsley was specific treatment for BDD. I was introduced to something which I found quite powerful, which was Theory A. Theory B, Theory A is what most people with BDD operate under, that you have a visible flaw and that's what's causing the problem. And I'm sorry if I'm getting this a little bit wrong, but Theory B, that you have a preoccupation with a perceived flaw and it's the preoccupation that's causing the problem. It was around this point that there were small steps towards accepting that everything I thought to be true may possibly not be true. At the end of the documentary, I was faced with giving a conclusion, and it felt very final. I didn't actually watch the documentary for probably around a year, because I couldn't face it. It's fair to say that although I had now learned various behavioural mechanisms that had helped me make headway on managing the anxiety caused by BDD, I almost felt worse in the way. I was offered follow-up sessions, but I only took one as I didn't really feel worthy at the time. However, I had a few significant life changes and I made the conscious decision to really throw myself into working on my recovery as what was the alternative. A large decision for me was to start taking SSRIs, which I was previously hesitant to do throughout my therapy. It helped me to take the edge off of my anxiety and to give me some distance that I needed to regain control. I used the tips and techniques that I had learned and understood in CBT, but I had been quite hesitant to use initially. I worked on reducing my reassurance seeking, and I'm quite fortunate that I have very supportive friends and family that took the time to read and understand about BDD. So rather than ask for their reassurance, they provided me with emotional support that I needed. I minimised my old coping mechanisms, reassurance seeking, avoidance, and rituals that I built. And I built new ways of dealing with my anxieties. I often wondered who I would be once the overwhelming influence of BDD wasn't as dominant anymore. It had almost become my personality. But now I understand that I am someone who is not defined by this. I do still have some days where I believe my problem is an image problem, but those days are much rarer now. Even when the intrusive thoughts come, it doesn't last because I understand that I have BDD. If someone compliments me now, I say thank you. My journey is ongoing, and the path to recovery is not always smooth. But with the right therapy and support, it is possible to reclaim your life. There is hope and there is healing, and there is a potential to live a life that is defined by much more than your perceived reflection in the mirror.
That would have taken a great deal of courage, and we very much appreciate it, and we know how important these messages from people with lived experience, have been there and bought the t-shirt, really does make a huge difference, so thank you so much.